Well, good morning. Welcome. I'm University of Illinois Extension farm broadcaster Todd Gleason. You can find me online at willag.org to hear agricultural programming from campus. It often includes the Farmdoc Daily Agricultural Economic Specialist from the College of Agricultural, Consumer, and Environmental Sciences. People like the folks you'll hear today, including Bruce Sherrick and Gary Schnitke. In fact, today we're going to talk about ECO and crop insurance in this Farmdoc Daily Winter Meeting webinar series. Gary Schnitke is here now to kick us off. Good morning to you, Gary. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. And I'm Gary Schnitke, and we'll get going here. We have three topics that we're going to do today. We'll just go over the risk management agency insurance plans that are available to you. Just quickly go over that so we are there. We will then talk about premium increases that are likely to happen in 2021 or will happen in 2021 and ECO decisions, and then finally to go over some of our crop insurance tools on Farmdoc. So that's our outline. And again, we're going to start here with RMA insurance plans. These are all made available through the USDA Risk Management Agency, and those are going to be what we talk most of the time about today. But we do have one poll, and these are not, or we have a number of polls, but this is one poll. And just so you know, ARK and PLC are not part of the insurance plans, but there is just one part of it that matters as far as your insurance decisions. So we just want to know, are you going to change your commodity title choice this year? And that would be, again, ARK and PLC. So let us know if you're going to change those. And again, the one key here is that you need to take PLC for your crop if you want to take SCO. So just that's the key here, and we're curious about what you're all thinking about doing as far as your ARK PLC decisions. And we got a lot of you voted here, and you are showing the results of the poll, and I'm not seeing those, but 28% of you say yes. 26% of you say no, 40 have not decided, and 7% of you, it's not a decision. So pretty evenly split, and still you're thinking about it. Again, those 2018 ARK PLC decisions are not the RMA insurance plans. You have to deal with ARK PLC at FSA office. RMA insurance plans are offered through crop insurance, and again, there's these three farm level coverages: RP with harvest price exclusion and yield protection. Most of you are taking RP, and again, these are farm level coverages. And with these three, you have these two additional options. If you select RP, you can have SCO and enhanced coverage option. To take SCO, you need to be in PLC. You do not need to be in PLC to take ECO. And again, supplemental coverage and enhanced coverage options are county level coverages on top of the RP, county level coverages, whereas RP harvest price exclusion, and YP are farm level products. You also have and we've had these for several years, ARP harvest price exclusion, and AYP and margin protection. You can't purchase margin protection now. You purchase that this fall. If you purchase that this fall, you have an option of selecting RP harvest, or whatever your MP is. And we're not going to talk about that decision today because only about 1% of you chose that. So there you go. So those are your options. And again, here's the full list of those options. And again, most of you are an RP. And again, with RP, you have this SCO and enhanced coverage option associated with it. And again, SCO and ECO are available with those farm level coverages, RP, HP, and YP. So those are what's available. And again, most of you are taking RP. And here's the numbers from 2020. And this is corn in Illinois. 93% of all policies sold in Illinois were RP. And you can see that those RP policies were typically at pretty high coverage levels, 41% at 85, 33% at 80, 15% at 75%. There is a regional distribution to that. Southern Illinois farmers, probably because of cost, take more of the 75 and 80% coverage levels. Northern and Central Illinois, more of the 85 and 80. Again, most of you are at RP, and 11% of you took SCO last year. 11% of the acres were covered with SCO, so that would have been primarily RP with the additional of SCO. If you're in RP, and again, this is where most farmers are here, and if you're there, you probably should be there. And we're not suggesting that you change your decision. RP is a very good product, and just so we note, it will pay in all situations. RP, HP, and YP will pay, and will always pay at least as much as those two policies pay, and often, particularly when harvest prices are higher, more than those products. So if you're there, stay there. And then if you're thinking about RP, HPE, and you don't want RP, here's the people that tend to move to RP. If you're concerned about the size of RP's premiums, in most of the state, RP, HPE will have half the cost of a similarly priced RP product. If you're going to do that, I would say you do not want to do much pre-harvest marketing, and you better realize that the payments from that product are going to be much lower in a drought year. 2012, a higher harvest price will offset the lower yields that you may be having. So that's the concern there. It doesn't have that guarantee increase. YP, think about that if you have all your crop marketed in another manner. Livestock farm may consider that. And again, if you're concerned about RP's premiums. Again, RP is where most of you are at, and most of you should stay there. But those are conditions about RP, HPE, and YP. And then we have these area plans, and there may be conditions under which those plans make sense. If you're moving into a new county and you don't have APH for that county, you'll probably have a very low one. In that case, ARP may be a good policy. And just a note, ARP in our models and in practice have always paid more than ARP. They come with a higher cost. So, and we'll check out our insurance evaluator here soon. ARP with harvest price exclusion if you like county products but want a lower per arm premium than ARP, and AYP, same thing. So that's just coming back to that. And again, RP is where most of you are at, and most of you are at a very good product. Now, if you have RP, you can add this supplemental coverage option onto it, and the ECO product as well. It's an add-on. So if you buy an RP 80 policy, it will take you from 86% down to the coverage level of the underlying RP. You have no option. If you select a RP 85, you get 1% band. If you select 80%, you get a 6% band. If you select the 75%, you get a 11% band. Just did the math there a little bit hard there for me. And you have to choose PLC. If you chose Ark, this is not available. All right, ECO is what's new this year, and you can think about it as adding on to the coverage of SCO. ECO will take you from 90 or 95% down to 86%. So if you buy an RP80 and SCO would take you from 86 to 80. RP90 would take you from 90 to 86%. So you would, in essence, have coverage county level from 90% down to 80%. So ECO rides on top of the SCO coverage, and SCO rides on top of the RP coverage. So with the combination of the two, you can get county level coverage from whatever you select, 90 or 95%, down to the coverage level of RP. Again, so those are your options: RP, HPE, and YP, and then those SCO and ECO rides on top of RP, HPE, and YP. So there we're at. And now we're going to go into our second topic. Most of you are in RP. You can add SCO and ECO on top of that. One of the things that you're going to have to realize this year is that premiums for the underlying RP product are going to be higher. And there's a good reason why it's going to be a higher and sort of a not so good reason, I guess. But one of the reasons why is because as it looks now, like right now, and that's a pretty good estimate, is that the projected price, which will be set during February, so we're into it already, it looks like that projected price is going to be something in the 450 range. So 450 is where we were at yesterday. We might be higher than that, we might be lower than that, but 450, that is higher than last year's projected price of 388. So if you had a 200 bushel yield, APH yield, trend adjusted APH yield, last year, if you had selected 80%, the minimum guarantee per acre would have been $621. This year, it's going to be $720, almost $100 higher. And that higher RP policy increases our guarantee. It also increases the premium. The second reason why our premiums are going to be higher is because what looks like much higher volatilities. First part of this month, the volatilities have been running 0.23. We are not setting those volatilities as of yet. Those volatilities will be set the last 5 days of the month, so we're not there. And I guess a lot of things could happen between now and then, but it's a pretty good guess that right now you would say they're going to be higher. And 0.23, so you're looking at something 0.23, and that's back in this 2011, 2012 range. That is going to increase your premiums. So let us just give we have a poll here.
Yeah, we have a poll. So what we want to know, Gary, at this point is what folks think the price of corn is likely to be around. So remember, this is based off of the December futures contract in Chicago. What do you think this price is going to look like? Go ahead and take the poll for the month of February.
No, this is a bit.
Oh, this is for harvest. This is a harvest. This is at harvest.
Well, what do you think the harvest price is going to look like? So this is sort of key to what do you think, what you're going to do here.
Yeah, this is December futures in October, I suppose.
Yep.
$5, between $4 and $5, $3 to $4, and below $3. And who knows? You're supposed to be telling me. So go ahead and fill that out. About 70% of you have voted so far. We'll wait just a bit and see how many more.
So this is the harvest price.
This is the fall harvest price for corn, December futures, say in the fall time frame. What do you think it will be? I think 78% have voted at this point, right at 80%, in fact, and 61% of you think it'll be between $4 and $5. 23% think it'll be between $3 and $4. Interesting.
So you're skewing downwards, all right? So just giving you a feel here, and not too many of you are optimistic about over 5, which actually could be the drought situation, but let's keep going here. But anyway, if we had a 388 and a 15 volatility, our 85%, and we're giving a McLean County example, would cost $12.70. With a 450 and 0.23, that goes up to $23.01. So you can see there that that's an increase of $10 for 85%. So last year, a lot of Illinois farmers were getting that 85% in the 15-ish range. Now you're going to be 25-ish range. And that is simply a function of both the projected price and the volatility being higher. And roughly you can think about 80% of it being because of this. So 80%, and that's a rough number, 80%, 20%. So if this goes back down to 0.2, 0.19, these price increases will be much more muted. That will also impact SCO and ECO premiums. If you select RP, those are going to go up. At this level, again, you're roughly doubling the SCO and ECO premiums. Same thing for soybeans, 917, we're looking at 1150 now. Again, we will be seeing coverage levels going up. And again, so we're setting something at 1150. And last year we were at 917. And our volatilities are going up as well, 0.12 to 0.2. And you'll see that those, again, cause premiums go from 6 to 1248. So we see this 637, almost a doubling of the 85% less, so I guess percentage, roughly the same percentage in this example for those cases. In any case, expect roughly a doubling, maybe a little bit less if you're at lower coverage levels of premiums this year versus last year because of projected price and because of volatilities. All right. Is that, well, I'm just curious, is that going to change your plans? So if you were at 85% last year, now you're going to double your premiums, will that influence your plans?
So what's the not a decision at the bottom there?
You're not a farmer.
Oh,
okay. You're not making an insurance decision, so you're not part of the decision process.
Gotcha. All right.
And
75% almost have voted at this point. Quick votes. Thank you for doing that very quickly. We appreciate that. There's your answers, Gary.
So 23% say yes, 43% say no, 21% say too early to tell. All right. That's about what I would expect. And so that just gives you a feel what people are thinking about there. All right. ECO. Again, now I'm going to go through some examples with ECO. ECO is county coverage. Again, you got two options, 95 to 86, 90 to 86. You can use it with or without SCO. You do not have to take SCO with this. And I think there are certain cases, if you're concerned about premiums, you would take ECO and not SCO. It can be used regardless of commodity title choice. It will use county yields, and it's going to use RMA county yields. So the RMA will release their yields. That will be in June of the year following the announcement. We're pretty sure that none of the SCOs you purchased last year made a payment, but you won't know that. We don't know what SCO payments are for 2020 because we haven't seen the release of the county yields. And again, it's not NASH yields, it's RMA yields, and they will be released in June. And again, the coverage of ECO mimics that of the underlying RP, HPE, and YP product. All right. As you're thinking about ECO and SCO, I would think about it as two policies. You got a county policy on top of a farm policy. And here's what, in particular, if you buy ECO at 90% and SCO at 86 to 80 and RP at 80%, my example here, you really don't have farm level coverage from 90% to zero. You got county coverage from 90 to 80%, and you got farm coverage from 80 to 0%. So you could have a farm level yield that's 85% of its APH, but it won't necessarily trigger a payment because the county didn't. And that's not to say that county coverage isn't good, but it's different. So if you're not getting a 90% guarantee on your farm yields, you're getting a 90% guarantee on county yields, and then below that, 80% down. County coverage is good for general economics. If you're concerned about $3 harvest price, like a number of you were, ECO is a good product. It will capture that. All right. So, but again, it does not provide farm coverage, and it doesn't provide prevent plant payments either. If you lower your RP 85% coverage from 85 to 80%, you're lowering your prevent plant because you're lowering your RP coverage level. So those are two things to keep in mind if you're ECO and you're thinking about lowering the RP coverage level because of ECO. I'm going to give an ECO example of payments for McLean County corn, just to give you a feel for what they look like. We're using a 450 projected price, a 0.24 volatility, and that both of those impact the ECO premiums, 200 bushel trend adjusted APH yield. And this matters in the ECO payments. Your ECO payments will be a percentage of your farm level guarantee. All right. So if you have a lower trend adjusted yield for a particular case, you will have lower ECO payments in another. And let me just give you another example. ECO will make a payment on, will calculate you get a 6% or 60% of this of the guarantee. If you have a higher level, you will get APH, you will get more of a payment. We're going to show this for ECO. Each county will have an expected yield, and those are published. And if you look at our crop insurance decision tool, you can see what those will be for a county. This one will have a 1074 premium, given these items from 90 to 86%, and a 2869 premium from 95 to 86%. So that'll give you a feel, and those are running pretty consistently across the state right now. 10-ish dollars for 90 to 86%, 28. And again, those numbers do vary on everything above here. Just give you a feel. Here are the payments that would exist under different harvest price and different county yields. Again, this is county yields and county yields, not farm yields, and different harvest prices. All right, a couple notes here. There is a maximum, and this is 90%. So there is a maximum payment here, and it's 36%, $36, and that maximum payment will be hit when you have harvest prices below, and you can see there that will be hit or in a lot of conditions. Actually, these things sort of are hit or miss historically. You can get higher than this 36%, $36 per acre if you have higher projected prices and a yield loss. But and again, that's the harvest price option doing this. But if we're going below the harvest price is below the projected price, there is going to be this maximum payment. In this example, it's $36, and they can go up if your harvest price is above the projected price. Again, there will have to be yield losses. This thing, according to historical numbers, will pay about 50% of the time. That's 50% of the time you'll get a payment, 50% of the time you won't. And the expected payment will be roughly $22. All right, so here's the payout. You will get on average a $22 payment for a 1074 premium, and 50% of the time you'll get zero. All right, so this year, so that'll give you a feel for your payment. Is that useful? Yes, you will get paid when your prices go down, and it's going to pay roughly 50% of the time, and we don't know. Bruce and I are sitting here and we have no knowledge, and Jim's sitting here, you too, we have no knowledge of this, if this is the 50% year. That's 90%. Here's 95%. Payment number goes up. $81, same sort of thing. Payments will go up again, and this occurring will pay 67% of the time. So 2/3 of the time. 1/3 of the time it won't. So more years than not, a 95% coverage level is going to pay. You pay $28.69 and you get a payment back of $58. So on average, $20 per acre, 50% of the time you pay $28 and get nothing. So that's sort of the payout, and that is what those things will look like. Obviously, if you're buying this, you're paying $28 plus $22 on the underlying product. And then if you add SCO to this, you're adding that as well. All right, so again, this is ECO, 95% down to 86%. Let's do soybeans. Again, RP 1150.2, we're going to use a 64 bushel yield. For this Piatt County case, 69 bushels. We went to Piatt County just to be a little different. 656 is the premium, 1819. So 656 versus 819. Again, that'll give you a feel. And here are what those payments look like. Here's our projected price. Maximum payment is $29 per acre. This, according to our historical numbers, pay 27% of the time. If you want to see those numbers. And again, and that's part of the reason why it has a lower premium. And it will make an average payment of $13.30. So you pay $6, you get paid roughly 1/3 rounding up, and on average a payment of $13.30. That's a 90% coverage level. Here's a 95. Again, the payments go up about 50% of the time. Corn pays more often than soybeans. In a historical analysis, you're paying $18.19, average payment of $36.91. Okay, so you buy this 50% of the time, you get a payment, 50% of the time you don't. So, all right, you listen to this. Now we got a question. Are you interested in ECO? So we just want to get your feel for it here.
This should be fun, Gary. Let's see what they decide. And then again, that not decision down on the bottom is you're not in making this decision at all. You're not involved. So they're moving through fairly quickly. Again, about 60% of them have already voted, and we're 20 seconds into it. So very quickly we'll get to this. Are you interested in ECO? Yes on corn, yes on soybeans, yes on both. Just plain outright no, and not a decision I have to make. Here are your answers.
And here's your answers. Yes on corn, 19%. Yes on both, 18%. No, 50%. So, all right. So there you go. All right. Just to summarize here. So our thoughts on this is your policies are going to are up in cost. The guarantees are going to go up as well. I guess, think about if you're buying RP at 85% last year, staying there is probably not a good idea. ECO and SCO are not game changers. I mean, they're not. They're good. They will provide useful coverage. They're worth considering, and whether you want to is largely a matter of cost. Again, you're going to get over time. You're going to get paid. And if you're an option strategy person, consider ECO, SCO, because if you're doing price options, this is a revenue option and it's subsidized. So why not do that? Those numbers that we were showing are specifically for Illinois. You can go on we haven't done this nationwide. I would not expect that to vary across Iowa, Indiana, Ohio. And again, I would not expect that to vary, but we haven't run those numbers. And we will in the next several weeks. Can you sign up for ECO if you sign up for Ark County? Yes, you can. So yes, you can sign up for ECO and again, your coverage level does not, or excuse me, your commodity title choice doesn't matter. One of the
Can you go back? Oh, never mind.
What's that?
I wanted you to go to where you're headed. You just switched slides.
Yeah. So we've heard a number of people say, and I got a particular person in mind. I'm thinking about going from 85% down to 80% and get SCO and ECO. Let me show you. We're just going to do that. Here's, again, we went back to Corn and McLean County. And you're thinking about doing this. 2310 would be what 85% is projected to cost. RP with SCO is 1740. You can add 1074, go up to $28, and you're roughly the same cost as last year. You could do more and get the $28. I would suggest you look at, if you're concerned about this option, you might, the cost of this, I would think about adding ECO before SCO. All right, and here's why. This is our payments on ECO and SCO, and let me just focus on these three. You always get this before you get this. Before you get any payment on SCO, you get the maximum ECO payment. So you will get, so if you're thinking about one or the other, this happens with much higher probability than this. And yeah, you do have a trade-off with the top, but you get this more often. Should you consider less than 100% of the price on ECO and SCO coverage to lower the premium? You can. You're going to lower the premium and you're going to lower the payout. So if you go down to 90%, premiums are 90% of what we've shown here, payments will be 90%. So that's what's going to happen. Statistically, over 10 years, what does the return look like for ECO? I'm just going back there. This is what the 10-year return would look like for this county. 656, 1330. Essentially, over time, you should be roughly expecting your premium back. If I'm picking and choosing where to put do you spend the money for ECO or for hail? That's a good question. If you're hailed out 1 in 4 years, that's a good question. Good luck.
That depends on the county.
That depends on so if you're getting hailed out 1 in 4 years, I would have to look at the real question is, have the hail rates kept up with that? And I don't know if in that situation, hail is not subsidized, but hail often has, let's say there's competitive pressures out there to keep hail rates low. So
that's funny, Gary, because usually because I ask questions for a living, usually if the person I'm asking a question says that's a good question, they know the answer to the question.
No, I wouldn't. That's a good question. And it's 6.5. I would really want to see your hail rate to answer that question.
It varies a lot county to county.
It varies a lot from county to county. If you choose Ark IC, does that make you ineligible for ECO or SCO? Ark IC, if you choose Ark IC, you are ineligible for SCO. You are eligible for ECO. So the Ark decision, the commodity title decision does not impact ECO. It does impact SCO. I did say that right, didn't I, Bruce?
That one's hard to keep track of.
All right, and remember, these are official yields from RMA that will be making those payments. Those will be released in June of the year following production. So if you choose 2021, EC on SEL, if they're going to make a payment, will not make a payment until June of the following year. And again, if you're looking at those expected yields per county, remember their RMA yields, and those typically run a little bit higher than NAS county yields. So there you go. We haven't run for Kansas. Well, but I would expect those to be roughly the same. So where is Ark IC the best choice? That's a different webinar, but here's what I would say. Ark IC, pick one farm to enroll in Ark IC, put your most variable farm in it, and if you have a farm that often gets prevent plant totally, that's a perfectly really good choice for Ark IC. So we're going on to our third topic and take it on. Bruce is here.
Yeah, thank you. So now that Gary's covered the simple stuff, I'm going to go over the really complicated parts. No, we had a couple of comments come in about, could crop insurance get any more complicated? And it is true. There are so many combinations by counties, so many different elections to choose that it does look really complex. So we've tried to simplify a bit of it further by putting some online tools up that you can use to examine your own case. Quite often your own cases, we illustrate first by creating one representative farm per county. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to go pretty quickly through some demos of some of the tools online and show you how to interpret what you might see, starting from the price distribution tool, and then we'll move into the crop insurance payment evaluator. I've highlighted this on the screen just to say, if you get to our Farmdoc or Farmdoc Daily website and check out the tools, you'll have some options to navigate to the crop insurance tools, and this is the one we're going to start with. So this is a very interesting tool because it uses something that's very close to near real-time, real data to go out and grab the options data that are being traded, and does this mathematical exercise to say, given the options and the futures prices, what do you believe the probabilities will be for expiration date prices of that underlying contract? You can select, this is kind of a neat little tool we have going here. You can select the crop, corn or soybeans, contract month, choose this, and it generates by going out, again, getting real-time data, and creates a price distribution that looks kind of like who you would get from, Black-Scholes approach. And sorry, we got a few things going on in studio here too, if you hear us talking amongst ourselves a bit. And figures out what the probability would be given today's prices of the expiration date. So it's a way of thinking about harvest price. It's a way of thinking about the likelihood of being above or below. This turns out to be really important because the projected prices are established using an average of prices during a month, but the futures price won't be that at the end of February, or may be quite different from that. And we can adjust our understanding of crop insurance by one more final complicating fact, and that's the difference between actual prices available and the prices used to set the crop insurance guarantees. This is important because the guarantees are set, the price of your insurance contract doesn't change based on this movement and the underlying price environment, but it actually turns out to be something that really affects the probability of payment, and we'll try to demystify why that's the case. In the example run here, did this yesterday afternoon. The 448 enter price to evaluate box that you see near the bottom of the page, you can just type in whatever you want. And so in this case, I was picking something fairly close to what I thought the RMA projected price might be, and it shows that there's a 54% chance of being below that price at expiration. In other words, if that were the projected price, you have just slightly more than 50% of the chance of being in the money from the projected price. You know how much likelihood, therefore, is that the harvest price would increase, 1 minus that 54% or 45.54%. Okay, so continuing on, though, I want to just start with that idea, point out that you can use this at any point in time and is completely independent of the prices that are in the federal crop insurance offering. For that, though, we want to go to this next tool, the crop insurance payment evaluator. And again, I'm going to go fairly quickly through this Again, I know that this is really, really complex, and just show you though the general orientation. And as we get closer to the final sign up period and we get into March, we'll do one more webinar on March 4th with actual final prices. We'll know the projected prices by then. We'll have final cases from the RMA side completed, and then our insurance evaluator continues to stay live all the time. So if after February 28th, the prices go up, it changes the value of insurance. If they go down, it changes the value of insurance. The way this is oriented though, when you get to the insurance evaluator, you see some choices at the top. You choose the state again. I think we have 11 states. Virtually all of the Corn Belt is covered. Then each county in each state you can choose. You can look at corn and soybeans. Acres affects a few things, but not that much based on the unit size in just a few cases. And what it returns to you is a case farm by county. This illustrates something that's actually implicit in everything Gary was talking about right away. If you start by looking at the right-hand side of this page, one of the things when you get county coverage is you realize the county county yields are not as variable as on-farm yields. So this case farm has an APH of about 211, 212, and 30% of the time, 30% of the time, the farm would have a yield below about 192, but the county would have a yield below 196. In other words, it's not as variable. This illustrates partly why county coverage is not great coverage for some farms. It's 5% of the time on your own farm. In this case, in McLean County, you would have a yield below 139, but the county would only have a 152 deflection in yields, if you will. So the correlation between your own farm yields and the county yields is also important to consider when you're evaluating county-based products. The rest of the case farm information, I'll let you kind of read off there, but this farm would on an average year have $822 of revenue per acre. The middle little section here, and then the enterprise or basic optional choices for unit structure are the next thing you'd want to look at in the evaluator. And this is a very busy page, but has a lot of information on it. Down the left-hand side of each of these charts is the coverage level or your election level. Am I choosing 50%, 55, up to 85%? And then the blocks that are shaded, RP, HPE, and YP, or yield protection. The county level products continue below the page. If we were to scroll down on the real website, we could look at ARP and AYP. We can look at the county level products in the same sort of setup. Again, because 90-some% of people choose RP, I'm going to focus on that section as well, but make some important comparisons across them, because the county products do, in some sense, provide a pattern of thought that's transferable to ECO and SEO. So in each of the sections, we have premiums. This is straight out of the premium calculator that exists at another part on the site. So in this case, again, the McLean County, given the our best estimates when this was run of the projected price and volatility, would say that a 85% coverage level or 85% of your expected revenue would cost you $24 as a farmer paid premium. On average, though, it pays back $34, which means that you're going to, on average, get back $10 more than you pay. Negative net cost, maybe an accounting convention that's a little bit confusing, but negative net cost means it's going to pay you back on average more than you paid for it. So in this case, 85% pays you back $10 more, 80% pays you $11 more, 75, 8.95, and so on. And shows you the average gross revenue you get with that insurance. Remember, with no insurance, we had essentially $822. With 50% coverage, you get paid back about what you paid, so it's still $822. And then that pattern of coverage and revenue by election level is one of the things we're going to use to evaluate or compare cross-insurance products. Again, this is just to show you for now the layout of the pages. These are live. They are, accurate as of information we have as today. And then I want to move on, though, to something that helps really summarize the comparison across these various products. Now, again, this is admittedly somewhat complex to start with such a busy picture. But of course, the things to look at are how likely is it that you're going to get paid and how much are you going to get paid. So we create a baseline of no insurance, And this graph shows the likelihood, or the vertical axis is probabilities of revenue. The horizontal axis is the revenue that you're looking at. And the blue line says if you had no insurance, what would be your exposure to different revenues? Now, just kind of look at the 10% level of percent, or the 20, or pick one that you can kind of in your mind pull out pretty easily. And 10% on no insurance says we have about $630 of revenue. So 10% of the time, 1 out of 10 years would be below 603, which is pretty likely less than your actual cost of production. So you can think about having no insurance, you're exposed to that kind of event. 50% of the time, if we move up to that point, no insurance was at that 822 level. So this blue line provides no additional measure of revenue other than we had tabulated in the prior pages. And we've got some questions coming in here. Do enterprise units affect the selection? Yes, it's a choice, and it does affect the entire math is different for an enterprise unit. As the net cost an average over 10 years? No, the net cost is an average over effectively an infinite number of years. So we integrate up out of the entire distribution, and it's for a much longer period than 10 years. Great questions. Thanks. Those help illustrate. So if we were to start adding insurance, what we actually want is to push those curves, if you will, from no insurance further off to the right, so that at any likelihood you have more revenue. The ones that look like they cut off the left-hand tail are the own farm revenue-based or yield-based policies. And I just pick one out. We just pick out a sampling. So the red line, which has the most steep and most stark cutting off, if you will, of the left-hand tail, says you've essentially insured against 30% of the worst outcomes. If you look at that and say, where does the red line effectively join the no insurance line? You've really cut off the tail. So almost under no circumstances will you have total revenue from the production and from the payments of RP85 below that 737 number. So again, we're trying to move things to the right. And as we've shown in many years of doing this, and it's been verified by, the empirical verification of our models has been pretty strong, actually. The area products have paid back a lot more. They just don't necessarily pay back in the years where you need the coverage. I think SCO and ECO have some of those same features in that even if they pay you back more than they cost, they may not occur in the same years that you have the actual revenue shortfall. So again, the orientation of this graph is one of the ways we try to make it obvious. The graphs are live, so if you scroll over them, in this case, I just typed in a target revenue of 737. And then I can roll down and say, what's the likelihood of outcomes? Well, with no insurance, 26.5% of the years, I'm going to have less than that. But with RP85, I can decrease my risk exposure to that low revenue all the way down to about 1.25%. The different products then can be compared. And what you see is even though the county products pay back more, they don't pay back in the right years. The revenue risk likelihood is also then tabulated for the folks who really want to fine tune their decisions. Again, these are only estimates at this point because we don't have final RPs. But if you really want to look and really zoom in on this, you can notice two more effects. That as you increase your coverage level from low coverage to high coverage, it's not just that you increase your expected total return. It's that you also shrink, if you will, the gradient between low and high outcomes. So we don't end up with as much variation from 712 to 736 as we did with lower coverage from 451 to 727. That pattern is pretty consistent and pretty immutable. It really is the case that the higher coverage does a better job at limiting the left-hand side, if you will, of your revenue distribution, and you can, in a sense, prevent the really bad outcome, which is that your cost of putting in the crop exceed the amount that you get back from it with insurance. I want to point out that these net costs are inclusive of the cost of paying for your premium. So it's calculated as a correlated set of yields and prices. In other words, when yields go down, prices tend to go up. When yields go up, prices tend to go down. Those coverages are calibrated pretty carefully. So the farm level correlations are different than the county level correlations. and we believe represent the real case fairly accurately. The last thing I'll sort of say is that the reason we're doing this now and pointing you to them now, prior to our final crop insurance webinar after we've established them, is to begin to get into your mind the difference between prices and things that are changing and prices that aren't changing. The cost of insurance, when we get to the final PP, the final projected prices, those are just numbers. We can calculate them, and they don't depend on what's going on in market conditions. You have until, for this part of the country, again, sales closing dates move around a little bit, but the majority of the Corn Belt is a March 15 sales closing date. By the time you get to March 15th, you might have some very valuable options that might influence your coverage level up or down a little bit, or influence how you think about locking in or taking advantage of the prices that are available. Again, the final PPs and volatilities on 228 will not mimic what you would get out of the CME actual prices. And if futures are higher than the price of insurance revenue establishment, then a portion of the revenue guarantee is less valuable because it's more likely that the harvest price is going to be higher. The starting point is no longer as valuable. If futures are below the current price, then the guarantee includes an in the money option, but it's less likely that you're going to trigger the HP option. So not just, and again, I know not many people took the HPE and not many people take the area products, but this is a little bit more detail on how to begin to modify your evaluation across those time. So again, we're going to continue to update these. Part of them update on their own live every day. Part of them we have to make a couple of adjustments to get, but after we get through the end of February and we all come up for air and take a breath, we'll do one more crop insurance webinar at the end.
All right. If you have any questions, we're coming to the end here. We appreciate your time. We have one here. With RP, I've been told that Ark County is the better option for a drought year and PLC is best when prices will be low. Would you agree? All right, I would agree. PLC is best when prices will be low. If you knew that prices are going to be low, take PLC. For a drought year, it depends how big the drought year is. If it's 2012 and we have a massive drought, here's what typically happens. Harvest prices are above projected price. And the harvest price is going up and countering the decline in yields. And in most cases, Ark County will not be making payments. So Ark County will make payments now in conditions in which we have lower yields, but not drought-resistant yields causing higher harvest prices. We would, and if you have any more questions, keep asking them. We would like to thank our sponsors, TIA, Center for Farmland Research. Bruce is the holder of that chair, Compierre and Farm Credit Illinois, Illinois Corn Growers Association, Illinois Soybean Association, and Growmark. We appreciate their help all along the way. We are doing this webinar series, and next week we will talk about acreage decisions. Should you plant corn or soybeans and what we're expecting? The week after that, February 15th, we'll do the last financial issues before planting. And that looks pretty good this year with these prices and all the government support last year. And then we will do a couple more webinars after that. So continue to be with us.
Yeah, just a reminder, if you're here today, you're already signed up. And Gary, could you go back up to the, just prior to the sponsors page, something that folks need to understand. So if you want to find the tool that Bruce Sherrick was talking about, it's pretty easy to get to. It's on both the Farmdoc and Farmdoc Daily website. Remember, those are kind of in the same place, but they are two different websites. If you hit tools, you'll be able to get to the tool. And one other thing there's your tool. Also, along the top of that page, you will have noticed there was a webinars and archive. So if you want to go back and see this or any of the other webinars, you can find them in the webinars and IFAS series. So go ahead and hit that, and you'll be able to find it. Again, we would like to thank, as Gary mentioned already, all of our sponsors. They do include TIA, the Center for Farmland Research, Compeer Financial, the Illinois Soybean Association, Farm Credit, Growmark, the Illinois Corn Growers, and of course the Agriculture and Consumer Economics Department here in the College of Agricultural, Consumer, and Environmental Sciences. Our thanks go to Bruce Sherrick and to Gary Schnitke for being here with us today. And just that one final page there, we want to thank you for joining us the whole time. And don't forget that you can always come back and look at these on the archive. On behalf of Jim Baltz, who's behind the wheel today, making sure everything is going very well. Thanks, Jim, for doing that. I'm Todd Gleason. I've been your moderator for the day. Again, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you again next week.